Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Mercury conjunct one's natal Black Moon Lilith. Now, the thing is, when you have transits involving Mercury, astrology can be about what we're objective about, communication, what we're communicating about, thinking about, and even learning, assimilating, and processing information. Now, when we're talking about a transit of Mercury, conjoin one's natal Black Moon Lilith. This could be about being objective, communicating, being more communicative, thinking, learning. It could be about our dark side or a very negative manifestation. Excuse me, of that sign that's associated with your Black Moon Lilith placement. I mean, if it's in Leo, it could be a very domineering, tyrannical side or overbearing that you really maybe don't show people that much. It's like maybe it's like an inner, energy that you try to keep suppressed. But it could be maybe talking about this more. I mean, if it's an Aquarius, it could be a very rebellious, idiosyncratic energy. That maybe you don't really, it's generally concealed, but it's time that you're starting to be more objective about it, maybe trying to do something about it. Now, also too, it's also about the Black Moon Lilith in astrology, again, going back to what we don't want unveiled, what may be suppressed. It could even be a crime that's associated with the placement. Say if it's in Taurus, it could be some monetary crime that we, in our back, something in someone's background. Now, especially like if you had this placement, say, of a Black Moon Lilith in Taurus in your 8th house of crime or the 12th house of imprisonment, it could be some embezzlement, extortion situation you were involved in, or money laundering, something where it could be theft or something, anything that could be money related, financial fraud. And this is a time where when Mercury hits the Black Moon Lilith, really could be actually be a very good transit. Some may see this as where you could be dominated by vengeful or vindictive thoughts and nefarious thinking, but it could also be about where you're coming to terms, really being able to process what this placement is about and how it might have affected you adversely, and maybe trying, and by maybe writing even about this energy and communicating about it, you understand the negative of this and may be able to do something about it. It could also be a time where you may be more, it could be a time too where you might be thinking more, unfortunately, about a formidable adversary, past or present. If it's in Scorpio, for example, it could be a Scorpio sun, moon, or ascendant person, or simply one that embodies Scorpio characteristics. This could be about dealing with, talking about some suffering that you might have dealt with, or even sexual abuse in some isolated cases. And there's never anything, not necessarily adverse, talking about it, because sometimes it's good to vent, and maybe if you can talk to somebody about something, they can help you resolve those issues, perhaps. So it could be a good time to let out, maybe reveal that information that maybe you were ashamed of, you didn't want, you kept concealed, but it could be a time where maybe you need to do something about it. In some isolated cases, it could be about getting law enforcement involved in it through your communication. Now, again, going back to the really the dark side, it could be about where you're really communicating about this more so than usual. It might even be writing something about this. It could actually be a good time to write maybe something connected, maybe some crime or horror, or something something that could be connected with this, an erotic, maybe it's like an erotic novel or something, because Black Moon Lilith is associated with the erotic side. Mercury, of course, can be connected with communication, which includes writing. Also, the Black Moon Lilith in astrology can be associated with what may put us in a strong state of fear or trepidation. And this could be a time where it might be time to come out and speak about these things. It might be where Maybe it's dominating your thoughts. I mean, if you have this, going back to the zodiac sign Taurus, if you have it in Taurus in your 12th house, it could be speaking or writing about maybe having maybe some kind of stability in your life. And Beast, maybe, you know, especially say if you have a Gemini ascendant and you have this transit in Taurus in your 12th house, it could be, you know, some kind of, maybe there's some hidden fear regarding you know, having, you know, some kind of love or stability or commitment to a person, actually being loyal and steadfast to somebody. It could be also too, this could be about how, you know, speaking about your very powerful erotic side. And say if this is in you know, this is in Gemini as an example, you might be talking about, you know, being infatuated maybe with younger lovers, younger people. Scorpio could be speaking about a very relentless sexual appetite. And keep in mind too that Mercury, it's not just about communication and writing and thinking and assimilating information. It could also be connected with siblings, cousins, and neighbors. So this could be a time where perhaps siblings, cousins, and neighbors may actually be exhibiting maybe their dark side to you at this time. If it's in Scorpio, saying maybe it's some kind of vengeful or sadistic, you know, side in some cases. Or if it's in Gemini, maybe a very mercurial or flighty or very, you know, fickle nature, maybe even something that you maybe perceive as dual-natured, vacillating temperament. Capricorn, it could be a very tyrannical or cold, very undemonstrative side that maybe you weren't aware of previously. Taurus could be a very greedy or avaricious type of energy that might be expressed. Now, Mercury can also be associated with short journeys. Now, the fact that when it's contacting your Black Moon Lilith, it could be about going to places that you really feared or were apprehensive of previously. If it's in Aries, for example, it might be like an area that's very volatile, that has a lot of, I guess you could say, violent crime. Or Scorpio could just be a very high crime area in general, period. Gemini could be a lot of theft, and really this could also be a time too where you may be learning. I mean, on the positive end with the Black Moon Lilith in astrology, there's also, you know, a higher level or power that can be embraced if you're willing to try to attain it. And now, let's say, for example, if this is in Leo, if you have this transit in Leo, it could be, you know, learning perhaps, which is Mercury, learning to embrace the higher power of the placement, perhaps by gaining some kind of acclaim or notoriety and recognition through some natural talent or ability. And you might naturally be charismatic and have some kind of presence if you put that to positive use, in contrast, as an example, to attention-seeking ventures. So, I mean, Gemini is another example. It could be maybe learning about, you know, positively, maybe using, you could use multitasking in a position somewhere, in contrast to perhaps dissipating oneself through a lack of an integrating purpose. Now, anatomically speaking, now, Mercury can be associated with eyesight, hands, the arms, the lungs, and breathing. And remember that the Black Moon Lilith can be connected with suffering and anguish. And I mean, it's really like Black Moon Lilith energy could also be like that void where you have that sense of lack. Now, when you have this transit, I don't really see this, at least in most cases, as not very serious, because the transit's only going to last about maybe roughly 3 days on average, because I'm talking about a 5-degree conjunction aspect with a 3-degree applying conjunction to the Black Moon Lilith and 2-degree separation of it. So, but there might be something where maybe your eye, there might be some, you know, night blindness in some cases. Remember, the Mercury's about eyesight. Black Moon Lilith is very dark energy. I have a prominent family member, actually, that has the Black Moon Lilith in a rather loose conjunction, I would say, to her natal sun, and you know the sun is either the left or right eye depending on gender, and she does have night blindness. She has it in the sign of Scorpio, the sign of darkness. And also too, there can be some issues. Sometimes it could be, with the hands that might be going through a little bit more suffering or pain, more so than usual. And sometimes it could be abject misery. But when you're talking about trans like this, I don't see it generally as lasting quite quite as it's not really that long or that sustained, but it doesn't mean you wouldn't be experiencing some issue like that, especially say if Mercury natally is in your, if your natal Black Moon Lilith is either in the 1st or the 6th house, because the 1st house is associated with the physical body, the 6th house is connected with physical health. And it could also be some cases where you might be, this is also where you might find yourself maybe talking more about some emotional turmoil or anguish, or maybe some kind of abusive situation. If you have this, say, in Aries in the 4th house in your natal chart, it could be a volatile, turbulent situation on the home front, or dealing with a violent family member or someone you just simply feel close to home with. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.